Hello and welcome. Now we're going to show you how to make a time lapse that looks HDR but it's not actually. So here we have 3 folders of DSLR footage taken on a Canon 350D. So that's 300 photos. We've just done a GPG search so that we can get them all into one place. So we search for all JPEGs in the specific folder that we wanted. Control A to select all. We go back and we paste. So now instead of 3 individual folders, we have them all in one folder, so we can delete these 3 empty folders. Now that we have them all in the one folder, we are going to import them into Lightroom. So we'll open up Lightroom now. The main issue with this is going to be file numbering and file management. So opening up Lightroom, we click on Import. Now remember, we only had 300 photos, but we're going to need 900 to get it that full HDR look. So we'll go into the folder where we have 300, into how to in this case, and we have 900 images, or excuse me, 300 images here. So check all and import. Okay, so now we have to export them, and while using the HDR program, which is called Photomatics, we need to set up the photos and their file names in a specific way that allow them to be handled and associated with each other within Photomatics. I found that the default naming in the Canon DSLR doesn't do it, so we make a new folder, Lightroom, and put a new folder within that Lightroom and just call it normal, and these are the unedited photos to begin with. So go into the rename to and custom, delete what's there. We want a system whereby made up of 2 parts. The prefix will be the number of the file, so 1 to 100, and the suffix will be which one it is within the series. So for example, in this case, the normally exposed one will be number 1. The photo that's underexposed will be 2, and the overexposed will be 3. So we'll do sequence first, and because we'll insert and then add custom text and click done. And here you can enter your custom text, and we're just going to add a -1. Here I was getting a bit confused. And we export. And here's where I realized that I only exported 1 photo and not them all. So we select all by hitting Control A, and then we do it again, which should all be okay for the last one. We'll overwrite that one. It's a mistake I do all the time, as you'll see. Now we reduce the exposure by 3 stops. And you'll be able to see them getting dark, the photos getting darker. Now sometimes this takes a while to happen, so don't go bonkers with the dropping exposures stops. Give it a second to catch up. and then we export, but in this case we change the suffix to 2 so that all file names will be, the first part will be made up of the number that it is within the series, and the suffix the number what it is in terms of white balance. And then we do the same, only completely overexpose the photos. So in this case we'll have to increase the exposure by 6 because we started from 0, went to -3, now we need +3. Again, takes a while on my machine, which is a 2500K, and we hit export, and again we change the suffix of the overexposed ones to 3 and hit export, and then we let that run. It will take a while, not too long. Yeah. So while this isn't really HDR, it gives you some cool effects, and it's just something I've been playing around with. The whole object of this video is 2 parts. Show other people how I do it, let them know if I'm doing something in a completely roundabout way that I could do way easier, or just as a reminder to myself. So here you saw the originals, and now if we go in here, what we'll see is 3 versions of each photo. And when we sort by name, you can see -1 correctly, -2 under, -3 overexposed. So that leaves us 900 photos where we originally only had 300 photos. And at 30 frames a second roundabouts, this gives us around 10 seconds of footage. So now photo matrix, go to automate, batch process, merge into 32-bit, navigate to your folder, and you can see that the files have been associated with each other. Now tone map with details enhancer settings, go to presets, and in this case I'm going to use Painterly, which I like. And you can play around with all these settings, but don't do a big run. Play around on an individual photo rather than a series of them. And select which folder you want to output to. In this case I'm going to call it Photomatics. And hit OK. And then we run. If you note the time in the bottom right hand corner, it's 20 past 10. This process takes a while. So to begin with, I'd recommend with a very short series of photos. Just so if you make a mistake, like I did several times, you won't have wasted too much time. But here already you can see the fake HDR photo, which looks much nicer. So we are going to let that run. So it started at 10:20. There's the original. The original again. The over and underexposed. So you can see the difference that it made. So now let's close that. come back to this when it's done. Ooh, and look at that, it's done already, but the time has changed. It is now 11:39, so an hour and 20 minutes or thereabouts for this to work on 900 into 300 images. So give yourself plenty of time. And we're done. Woohoo! Now let's go into our Photomatics folder, and we can see our series of photos. And then now there surely is a better way of doing this, but this is the way that I do it. I re-import them into Lightroom. Navigate to my folder, and select all, import, and then make sure to change the sorting as to file name. Then we need to export, selecting them all. I'll make a mistake there, and you can save them to a new folder if you like, HDR in this case, and select folder, and then the naming procedure, we're just going to take a sequence. Again, this is so that Photoshop will recognize them as a sequence, because we'll need to use Photoshop in a second to create the video file. And we export all of them this time. You can see I've made the same mistake again. And then once that's done, we go and have a look, and same photos, but you can see almost a time-lapse effect as you scroll. And then we open up Photoshop, select File, New, from the preset go to Film and Video, 1080p, 29.97, and hit OK. Now we click Create Video Timeline, and then from the Layer menu, Video, go down. I get lost myself sometimes. New video layer from File, and then we navigate to our folder. Oops, too far. No, wrong one. Go back up. There we go. How to? Yeah, there we go. And Lightroom, HDR. Double click. Select the first one in the series, and Photoshop will recognize it as a series. From there, we stretch out the timeline so that we get a better idea. As you can see, 1080 by 1920 only covers a portion of our frame, so what we need to do is we need to transform it down. So hit Control T, and then when it asks you to create a smart layer, confirm, and then pull her in so that it covers, that it's all in the frame. From here you can do all sorts of stuff within here. If you want to pan and zoom and take advantage of the fact that your frame is bigger, then you can do that. Okay, so we've selected File, Export, Render Video, and now we name it, and you can play around with all these settings at your own leisure. And then we export the video. Now this will also take a while, far longer than it's actually showing in my video, because I've actually speeded up the screen capture. Expect to be waiting. And there, we're done. We go back to our folder, and there is our video file. So it's a bit choppy in this because this is a screencast of a video, so I'll throw up the original right now. Thanks very much. Bye bye.